RC enthusiasts on YouTube. How you doing? I'm Eric. This is TitanRC. We're going to be starting to do some videos here for you guys. I've been in RC since 1982, 1983. I've done racing, crawling, drag racing, boats, helicopters, drones, you name it. I've done it somewhere along the line. Currently now on the weekends, I do fix RCs for my local hobby town. So I've pretty much seen it, done it, and felt like I needed to do a little bit of something. My newest thing right now is I've been into 3D modeling and designing 3D models for RC applications. So I was going to go over one of the ones that I did today, or not today, but one of the ones that I've done in the last week or two. But I'm going to kind of do a little how it works, what I did, and that would be the big Terranaut fifth wheel system that I developed. It's a modular 3D printed trailer that's designed to be pulled behind the Terranaut, and it came out really good. And I've done some video. If any of you follow my Facebook page, I've done some video on it. I've done a few pictures of it, and it's currently up for, I think, a pretty decent price. It's pretty cheap, but it gives me the direction to go out and develop more stuff as people buy them. So without any other stuff, let me get into the actual trailer itself. So the meat and potatoes of the trailer is these modular, my green screen is going to be a little weird because it's green, but it's going to be these modular chunks of trailer. Yes, I'm getting a little bit of transparent, but you'll have to bear with me. Anyhow, there is 4 individual pieces. There's the rear piece, there's the tongue piece, number 1. There is the third piece, which I call the axle carrier, because it's the center piece with these little green nubs, which are for shocks, and it's got holes in it to carry the axles. This is an axle piece with a shock on it. So these sit up inside, and then the shock goes up into the body of the trailer and those little tabs I showed you. So this can actually, as it sits like this, like that sort of, as it spins up out of the way, you actually have suspension in the back. Here's a more completed version with wheels and tires on it. These are from the Terranaut. I'm trying a little bit bigger size on them to see how they work. But anyhow, here's the center piece, and you can see those tabs are not there. So you can literally make it as short as just 2 chunks. You print out the first piece, and you print out the fourth piece, and then that's your chunk right there. I'm having this weird issue. This isn't usually here. It wasn't in my alpha, but this particular filament for some reason likes to curl up on the edges. I'm not sure why. But anyhow, I digress. So you can make it this short, and like I said, that's why I put the axle carriers also in the last piece. This also makes it so if you want to run much bigger tires, you can put one of the axles in here on spot number 3, and then you can see this other carrier, so you can move it down. You can move it down to, you put your first one here or your first one here, and then you can put your second one here, and it'll be spaced apart, but you can run bigger tires. So that's how that kind of works. Everything here just screws together, and it's a combination of M2 screws and M3 screws. Anything that's a strength piece, I went up to M3s because I want it to be strong and not have any issues. So you can see on the tongue piece, there's a fifth wheeler styled adapter, and then there's also, or a fifth wheel. This is the fifth wheel style adapter, like a pickup truck style. That one literally just bolts onto the front, and then you have the carrier of it. Sorry, this is my first time getting used to all this camera shit. And then the other one snaps over and screws in like that. There's 2 M3 screws that go down in here, like M3 by 10s, and then in here you do like M3 by 20s, and then I would put a nut on it and just tighten it up in a little thread lock. This makes it super, super strong. This is all reinforced with girders. Where you put your pin is also now reinforced. So it makes quite the solid start to your whole trailer. Once you're done with that, and you start adding your sections, I lost the section, it's right here. As you go to M2, you'll see these little ears. So you do an M3 by like 18 and go through the holes into the other holes. And this keeps the trailer nice and rigid, and it also keeps it nice and straight. I will tell you a secret about these little trusses when I get to that far. But what I have started doing with mine is, instead of just using the screws to go through the plastic, it's actually upside down, that's why it was off. Instead of just using screws to go through, I put them all the way through, and then I round out the holes a wee bit, and then I'll fill it with an M3 nut to give it just that much more strength and rigidity. And it seems to be working really good. I had 3 18 scale cars on my video, and when I brought it in, I literally just carried it one-handed by the middle section, and I had no flex and no bend with the cars, and a couple of them are pretty heavy. They're full brass. So as you go through the sections, eventually you're going to end up with this section, and there's M2 holes, 2 here, 2 here, and essentially what you're going to do is this little axle is going to go to the inside of the trusses. This one is broken. I had to glue it back on because I stepped on it. But anyways, they fit pretty snug. What I do is, it's an M2 by like 24, M2 by 26, somewhere in that vicinity. You screw it all the way through until it just starts peeking out through the trusses. Once it goes through and it's just got a little nub hanging out, I'll put a washer on it, and then I'll put the axle piece on it, and then I finish screwing all the way through, and then I'll finish it off with a nut. And then, because it's plastic, there's enough of a flex where you can do it on the same side, on the other side. Put an M2 through. As soon as it breaks, put a little washer. Finish going all the way through the green, the plastic, whatever color you do, and then finish it with a washer and a nut. And then I'd use a little dab of thread lock to make sure it doesn't fall off. And what you end up with is something that kind of looks like that. And the shocks, the suspension does work. They will rotate on the shock, and it will come down. The whole thing rotates down, which is good. I got these cheap SCX24 shocks that a lot of people were complaining that the spring rate on it is too heavy for an RC car. So I was like, perfect, I'll get that for the trailer. That way the trailer actually can handle quite a heavy load. What I've been doing on these is, because a lot of the SCX24s and 18s, they only use a 1mm screw, those wicked tiny ones that go through the little brass bushings. So I have drilled out some of the brass bushings. I have used the Dremel and flattened them so that, it fits in between. But what I found has been working the best is giving it a little bit of wiggle room, gives the whole axle a little bit of movement, so it tends not to put too much stress on one side. So I literally pop the brass out, and I will put a washer on either side of it and just sandwich it together, and with an M2 with a nut, and that way you have a nice, strong, and then the M2 makes it so it doesn't come out. You don't have to worry much about the whole play, because it's only like a millimeter of play. But when the trailer's sitting down on it, there's no play. It doesn't move around much. And it ends up making it better. So the last section, like I said, is the number 4. They're all labeled so you can go in between. This is my final version of it. This one has the trailer lights section built in, so you can use 5mm bulbs to go in there. I haven't done it yet. It's on my list of things to do. And there might be one more revision, because I was thinking about removing this little wall here in between and making maybe like a T in there so the wires can run through a little bit easier, and it's easier to get in there. But this piece is kind of cool. once you download and you put it together, you will get some ramps, and the ramps glue in right there like that. And then the other ones take an M2 and they just screw in on either side of the thing right there like that, and then they will fold down nice and give you the appropriate ground clearance. There's also a little hole in the side. You can put an M2 screw in there as well as in the side up here. And what you can do is I use these black hair ties, and they work perfectly because you can push it down even with the hair tie on, and then when you lift it gently, they'll snap back up into place, and they'll fold all the way up out of the way, so you get the full clearance for it. Again, I apologize for this weird lighting situation. My studio is not set up yet because I've been sick, and then I just got COVID again, so that was fun. So one of the things you guys need to do is the axle piece does require some hardware. I have a full list on the Cults page where this is listed that tells you everything I used. M2 screws, M3 screw assortment kits, the tires, if you buy like 55 millimeter tires, so like off like the SCX24 Ram, the green like forestry truck or orange forestry truck, those tires and wheels work perfectly, and they look really cool because they kind of look like semi tires. This one I have the actual Terranaut tires on. This is the green trailer that I'm going to be starting to build. I'm trying to find a sander because I want to fix these panels. I've already been through 6 rolls of filament just prototyping this stuff. But the axles themselves, as soon as I find my other one. So the axles on the ends are have a hole in them for M3 6 diameter, 2.5 hole, 3 millimeters deep, flange bearings. So they press right in here, nice and tight. Usually you have to stick it down, stick the bearing aiming up, and then just give it a good hit, and it'll flatten them out. And then it's a 2.5 millimeter rod that goes through the center. I would like to give you dimensions on how long to get the rods. I've been getting the 250 millimeter or 300 millimeter and cutting them to size, because it varies a lot depending on what wheels and tires you use. Some of these wheels and tires are bigger, some are smaller. This one on the trailer in the video, I have really, really small tires, so I was able to use Redcat Ascent Hexes, the plastic Hexes, to use as a buffer between the bearing and the wheel, and those spin better. This one is a little different. This one here has washers in between the wheels, because the rod wasn't long enough. I cut the rod ahead of time based on what I cut for the other one, and it was too short for these wheels because there's a lot more plastic in the hub. So you're gonna have to kind of size it accordingly. What I usually do is I press the bearings in on one side of the rod. I will put the lug, then I slide the wheel all the way down, and I put the wheel on, and the rod will stick out the other end, and then I put either the hex and then the wheel, or just the wheel on, and then I mark it right at the level of the wheel, because you can slide it left or right by undoing one of the nuts, and then I just snug it down, and then I back it off a quarter, and it gives you a nice easy spinning, dragging across the ground and whatnot. So again, M2s for the little nuts, 2.5 millimeter threaded rod for the axles, which sit inside 3x6 by 2.5 bearings, and then whatever you guys want to use for wheels. Half of us have shocks just sitting around, like from SCX24s, the gateway drug to the RC world. I just bought these because it was $10 for all 4, and they're nice, and they're pretty stiff. They return, whereas the SCX24s, just the weight of the trailer, more or less will full droop the shock, so you don't get a whole bunch of play. You do get enough that when it's going over stuff, it'll go up and down because the front axle is taking the weight, etc. But that's pretty much it. I'm going to do an actual assembly video once I get I'm looking for like a bench top sander so that I can take out the this little whoop that it likes to do. And it's funny because like this is better filament and it's doing it here, and when I use my cheap $10 filament, it works fantastic. Go figure. But you can see like it kind of got a little gnarly on the side here. So that's why I decided to put it up for you guys to download as opposed to try to print them. What I would like to do is, if I could get it nailed down and everything works right, I would like to start printing all the plastics and have them as a ready-to-buy kit where you just have to go get your Amazon, you know, your specific wheels. You know, I got like 20, I literally have 20 of these tire racks sitting over in my RC vault with all kinds of tires. So, you know, I'm constantly changing it up and stuff. Oops, I got a little light peeking through. Sorry. Like I said, I'm still trying to nail down the whole camera and whatnot. And as you can see from my video footage, try to nail that down as well. So that's about it at the moment. I just figured I'd take this opportunity to publish some stuff about the trailer, how it goes together. Oh, yeah, the one secret I was talking about at the beginning. So because these trusses, the trusses are there for strength. I've already done a NASCAR 1/12 scale modular style trailer like this, but I designed mine so that it can haul one NASCAR or multiple NASCARs. In fact, at the last race of the year, I have the FMS 1/12 Hummer, and I use that to pull with a very similar neck to this one. I use the Sen 450 ball kit for the connector in the ball, and that pulls two NASCARs on that trailer, no problem. But it's a very, very low to the ground, and I didn't put any trusses in, so it's just the panels, and it does bow a little bit. These trusses, once you get it all screwed together and make sure everything's all aligned, if you just pull back, like just flex a little bit, put your thumb on the joint and pull it back, it'll pull back about that far. Put a little daub of CA glue, and then just push it, you know, rotate it this way so that the trusses, because the trusses do touch, and when it fuses the plastic together, this thing is unbreakable. Like I said, when I came in the house the other night, I had 3 18 scales on here, and I carried all 3 in just by holding the one piece of the middle and just lugged it in like that, and no flex, no bend, no nothing, no breakage. This thing is very, very durable. I was out, if you check my other video on the Facebook page, you'll see that I was out running around in the yard, driving it up over huge humps, and that's without half-decent wheels and tires on the trailer itself. And it was my first attempt at putting this together before I kind of made a whole bunch of changes to make it stronger and whatnot. In the cult file, you'll have all of these plastic files and STLs. I also attached a 3MF if you have a bamboo printer or another printer that'll take the 3MF file type. And that allows you to see how I printed them all. I have tried multiple ways, and a lot, you know, some of my failures in the beginning are these, you know, strands, because I printed it like this. On the tongue, I found that if you print it up like that with trees, it comes out fantastic. You do get a little bit of ripple in the back. This actually will pull off. This is the tree mat that goes down before the trees connect, so they're not actually fusing with your thing. So again, you'll get the fifth wheeler tongue. You will get the semi-style tongue. You guys can make whatever you want. You get the ramps. You can mass produce the ramps. You'll get a couple of the ramp covers. Every truck I have, including some of the construction vehicles that I've used, has been able to go up the ramp. Now that I've made them longer and a lot sturdier, they sit properly on the ground. So anyhow, expect a lot more from me. Hopefully I'll have my studio set up better next time, and I'll get my lighting and some other stuff straightened out. Hopefully my audio, by the looks of my little meter, it looks like my audio is good, but we'll find out. And I'm still working on my intro, so you're going to get my original intro in the video, and it goes to my green screen. It's going to fall over on me. Alright, I guess that's it for now. Catch you on the flip side.